You cannot stop me. You are but one man, puny elf boy.
Huh.
This is getting out of hand. Now there are
4
of them.
What's up, thinkers? Thinkafurr back once again with yet another Breath of the Wild 2 video. The E3 2021 sequels really got my brain buzzing. There's so much to cover and observe and talk about, and I honestly am struggling to fit it all into different videos, but today I want to really cut to the chase here and address a detail that honestly was overlooked by many, and really, even if you had a sharp eye, would have missed in the E3 trailer. This tiny detail being that when Link's arm was consumed by malice, he was evidently holding the Master Sword, and implicatively appearing to have attempted to swing it at something only to fail and, as explained previously, became injured. But that's the thing. Potentially, Link's arm isn't the only thing to have been injured or damaged, so to speak. Yes, that's right, thinkers. It's possible that the Master Sword itself was potentially broken or damaged and or corrupted during this moment in which Link was overwhelmed by the malice, and this, thinkers, opens the realm to much speculation regarding Breath of the Wild 2's main questline. So, with the possibility of a broken Master Sword laid out on the table, let's try and pick up the pieces and hopefully have this speculative thought process come to a decisive conclusion. Maybe. Alright, as I said earlier, it's visibly apparent that Link is trying to either swing or use the Master Sword in some way. Now obviously Link is overwhelmed by the malice, and at this point it's clear that something may happen to the Master Sword here. Perhaps in this moment, the Master Sword is broken or corrupted, and if that is true, well, this plot decision by Nintendo in hindsight shouldn't surprise anyone, as we saw signs of its wear and tear over time. If it really is broken, then it presents two main questions. Will Link set out on a quest to repair it, or will Link attain a different Blade of Legend? Well, to be fair, I actually think both of these questions could be occurring sort of at the same time, hand in hand, so to speak. Looking at a few hints within the trailer, and yes, I'll look at some hints both in gameplay and elsewhere later on, but looking at what we find in the trailer, specifically the new shield design, clearly, we can see the shield design has 3 full triangles and 4 hollow triangles. It also has a eye kind of rolling back into itself with 4 kind of tendril-like appendages and 2 swirls on either side. Uh-oh, Zonai alert. But seriously, I really just think that that's maybe a reference to 4 swords, as the 3 triangles might be referring to the Triforce, and the 4 triangles may just be referring to Link being able to split himself into 4 different versions of himself. In addition to this, the creepy looking eye, whilst it does kind of give me a Shiekah kind of vibe, really gives me more of an inclination to think of Vati. It does kind of have a creature-like appearance. Anyway, whilst this could just be an Easter egg or just a small cute little reference to 4 swords, perhaps Link really will attain the 4 sword in Breath of the Wild 2 and utilize its kit and potential whilst the Master Sword needs repairing or retempering. Perhaps due to the damage that was sustained when Link was Consumed by the malice? The Master Sword might just in fact revert back to being the Goddess Sword. Maybe Link will have to swap varyingly between the Goddess Sword and the Force Sword. Or perhaps Zelda will have the Goddess Sword and Link will have the Force Sword. Either way, this opens the realm of possibility for Nintendo to split Link into 4 separate Links again, and in turn allowing for the creation of more complex dungeons, and maybe even implement a multiplayer option. If so, I really hope that Nintendo sticks away from the gimmicky side of things, but if they do implement some kind of a gimmick like, I don't know, maybe making us use another console altogether to play it, well, maybe they might have us using the Nintendo 3DS instead of the Game Boy Advanced, just like in Four Swords how they had us using the Game Boy Advanced with the GameCube. Either way, I really hope Nintendo sticks away from that kind of stuff, but let's move on. Looking at some of the details within the original game of Breath of the Wild, we see upon the tapestry the ancient hero and princess. Now, from what we can see, the ancient hero has been illustrated as garbed in green attire and holding a blade of legend. Curiously, this blade that is being held is also strangely green as well. In addition to these curious design choices for the Blade of Legend, the hilt design is completely different altogether than that of the Master Sword's own hilt. Instead, the shape overall appears to be reminiscent of the Four Swords hilt. However, the coloration of this blade is completely different than that of the Four Swords. Now, whilst this Blade of Legend held by the hero on the tapestry is visibly different than that of the Master Sword or the Four Sword, and yet sharing similar characteristics, we have seen a Blade of Legend in the past, both with a similar hilt design and the same coloration. Once again, we see yet another moment of Breath of the Wild harkening back to Skyward Sword, as we see it was the original hero of the sky who wielded the Goddess Sword. The Goddess Sword was a green and mystical blade created by Hylia and imbued with the sword spirit Phi. This blade historically has had many names, but ultimately will become the sword we all know and have swung around for many years. The sword that seals the darkness, the fabled blade of evil's bane, the Skyward Sword, or more commonly referred to as the Master Sword. But wait, didn't I say that it doesn't look anything like the Master Sword on the tapestry? And wasn't the Master Sword kind of broken? And how does the Four Sword even come into this? It's a high probability, as I said earlier, that Link will either break or damage or corrupt the Master Sword in that moment he is overwhelmed by the malice. Because of this, Link may in fact have to go through a redemption arc and possibly walk once more in the footsteps of his ancient ancestor, the hero of the sky, all the while wielding the Force Sword in the interim of retempering the Goddess Sword back into the form of the Master Sword. If this is true, it's likely the Goddess Sword will have some sort of usage, but it will probably be very niche or limited. Either way, this speculation points towards Link having to go on a symbolic quest not only to reforge or retemper the Goddess Sword back into the form of the Master Sword, but also to reforge and retemper his spirit as the hero. Maybe not in the same way as Link, the hero of time, had to go through during Majora's Mask, but nonetheless, I believe Breath of the Wild 2 will be about reaffirming Link as a hero and maybe even redefining him from the hero of the wild to perhaps a completely new kind of hero, a fresh start or a clean slate, if you will. To be fair, I think the Master Sword needs a fresh new slate as well, given how much wear and tear it had during Breath of the Wild, and maybe this is it, thinkers. Maybe the Master Sword may in fact go through some sort of reset or transformation. Either way, I'm out of time, thinkers. Let me know what you all think in the comments below. If you liked the video, hit the like button and subscribe for more videos in the future. If you want to support the channel, you can do so in one of two ways. If you'd rather wear your love for the channel, then feel free to browse all our new epic shirts on the merch store at teespring.com. If you'd rather support the channel and want to get behind the scenes access, then you can join as a member on Patreon for $1 a month and get all that epic, wonderful behind the scenes access. Now, just before I head out, make sure to go and check out my partner and channel artist's Instagram at ElfSpringArt. After all, they make all this channel's art at this point, and honestly, the channel wouldn't be where it is without them. So please, if you could show some love, head on down to Instagram. Love ya, Elfie! Alright thinkers, I'm gonna head out and record the next video. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye bye!